All right. Cloud Foundry Foundation Technical Oversight Committee for the 21st of March 2023. Agenda for today then, an update from the App Runtime Interface Working Group, PRs, and any other business. I see Chris has added in some stuff about Docker Hub changes and consolidation, so we'll talk about that. As always, any PRs that I haven't found, put them in there. Any other proposals for the agenda, stick them in there, and we'll try and get to them. Right, Greg, floor's yours.
All right. So I guess I have a loose smattering of topics to cover. Apologies if it's a little bit disorganized. I think kind of the biggest thing that Ari has been working on over the last little bit has been the CF Linux FS4 Stack and associated build packs. So as I'm sure you all are very familiar, we're in the process of going through a stack migration onto the new root FS for app containers. And as such, we need to cut a whole bunch of new build packs for that. So we should now have the, I guess I shouldn't say this with 100% certainty, but we should now have the final version of CF Linux FS4 Stack and the associated build packs. I think there was just a PR yesterday that was merged for the Java build pack to make it compatible with the new stack. I'm not sure if that has been fully released at this point, but there are a couple of breaking changes coming with the version of CF Linux FS4, where previously we included Python and Ruby in the stack, which the build packs themselves would use. Now we're transitioning to a model where the build packs will bring their own dependencies. So for instance, the Java build pack will bring its own Ruby version for its own execution. And the primary motivation for us doing this is the version of Ruby and Python that were chilling in the old stacks were pretty insecure and pretty old. So this lets us not have that CVE burden on the stack itself. But this does mean that if you have apps that were using that unofficial interface, and depending on, even though they didn't use the Ruby build pack, depending on there being a build pack Ruby version hanging out in the app container, that will no longer work for you, and you'll need to transition to using a Ruby version provided by the Ruby build pack or other means of getting Ruby into the app container. So that's going on there. I mean, there'll be numerous other breaking changes as you move from CF Linux FS3 to FS4, but that is one that is not coming directly from the Ubuntu version change. This is an intentional change on the buildpack stack interface there. I guess another thing is we've cut the first version of the stack, the first version of the stack auditor CLI plugin in like 3 years or something like that. So for operators who want help understanding what stack all of the apps on their Cloud Foundry deployment are using, the Stack Auditor CLI plugin will show you what stack, and then also give you the ability at the platform operator level to forcibly move apps over to the new stack. With then the plan being, after you've moved over all the applications to the new stack, you can then get rid of CF Linux FS3 off of your deployment. So those are kind of two big things there for folks looking to move on to the new stack. Another thing we have going on in the build pack area is we're doing some early prototyping of cloud native build pack integration. So we don't have anything final here, but my hope is that at some point soon, basically as soon as I find time to write it up, I'll create an RFC describing a process for some early integration of the Paketo cloud native build packs into CF deployment. So again, I don't really want to get into any details now because I haven't written it up, so I don't know what those details are going to be. But we do have some very early prototypes. If you want sneak peek, Ryan Moran has a project on his personal GitHub called CFNB, which some of our prototyping has been based off of. Again, I don't want to promise anything, and who knows whether y'all will agree with what we're saying in the RFC as it comes down, but keep an eye out for that. And again, hope to have that sometime relatively soon. I guess the final build packs related thing, which we can talk about at the end, is there was a PR that Ryan Moran had set for splitting out a bunch of different build pack subteams. So we'll come back to that at the end, since I guess that's not really an update, but that may be something that is worth discussing broadly with the TOC. For the CFCLI, looking forward at our some roadmap items for the CLI. CFCLI 6 has been deprecated for a long time and like is de facto no longer released, but we're still shipping it as part of the Bosch package, which feels a little discordant there. And so, there's probably a variety of people who are still using it, even though it is no longer supported. So we're going to be looking at doing an audit, making sure there's no common usage of CF6 in CF deployment or common community usage, and then trying to get rid of CFCLI v6 from the Bosch package, just because we're basically shipping insecure software there since we're no longer actively building it. And then I guess something that has perennially been towards the top of our roadmap, but we haven't found the bandwidth to work on yet, has been trying to figure out the future for CFCLI plugins. So as many of you are unfortunately aware, the current even V8 CLI still uses the V2 Cappy API for its plugin interface. And there's been a desire for years and years now to figure out how to migrate that plugin interface to use the V3 API instead. I can't promise we'll succeed on it this time since we have not yet succeeded on it, but it's something that has come back up as an area of focus. So hopefully we'll find a path forward this time. So if anyone, I know this was an area of interest for some of the folks working on SAP side several months ago. So if there's any community interest in that, I would definitely suggest reaching out to me, because there may be some opportunity for collaboration there. I guess another update in the area, I think this has affected people generally in Cloud Foundry, but we've onboarded a large number of new docs maintainers. As you're familiar, we basically went down to like one across all of Cloud Foundry. And as part of that, some of the new docs folks were looking for interesting projects. So kind of related to the CFCLI 6 removal process, we still have a bunch of places in our docs that are referencing CF6. Generally not explicitly, but there's, since there have been syntax changes, a lot of the CLI examples just scattered throughout the docs are using older CF6 or CF7 syntax. So one of the docs projects that I'm helping them with is doing an audit there and trying to update a lot of the CLI examples in our docs to match the syntax of more modern CLI. So again, still kind of in the early audit stages of that, but hopefully we'll be seeing a big round of improvements there. And getting our docs up to date with what our expectations around modern CLI use looks like. I guess on the API side, I think building on a lot of the work that SAP has been doing around API performance testing. For folks who aren't familiar with that, there was a great talk about that at CF Day late last year. I think there's some renewed focus on that, especially given some recent issues with Cappy performance for certain endpoints for especially large data sets. So I think that's an area where we're continuing to look to invest in that and make sure we have a good understanding of how Cappy performance is changing over time. And then I guess somewhat related to that, another item that has been near the top of the roadmap for a while, but we haven't fully completed yet, has been moving Puma to be the default web server for Cappy. So currently it's an option, but it's definitely not recommended for broad use, especially because turning on Puma has some implications for what cloud controllers metrics look like, just because you're moving to a more distributed web server there. So again, continuing to invest in that and get to a point where we're actually recommending Puma as the default web server for Cloud Foundry operators in general. And then I think last couple items. So this has been another item that has been around for a while, but there was an announcement, I don't even remember when it was, over a year ago, about removing Spring auto reconfiguration from the Java Buildpack. And we've tried to go through a deprecation process on that. I think what we found is that it is a pretty disruptive change. So we've had to roll back that deprecation, and we're now theoretically trying again. There's been a bunch of back and forth on exactly what our strategy is going to be there, because it is a bit of a disruptive change. So I don't have a solution right now, but that is something that there should hopefully be some broader communication about coming up, about what our strategy is going to be there. But my understanding from talking with the Buildpacks folks is this is not something that is really maintainable for them. So it's just a question of finding the gentlest off-ramp from the Java Buildpack maintaining Spring auto reconfiguration indefinitely. And then final thing before I get into some broader discussion topics, I guess, is we noticed that the default Cappy web dev blob store doesn't currently register its public URL, or register its public URL with GoRouter over TLS. So again, not recommended for production use, so not a huge issue there, but we'll be looking in the next, hopefully in the next few months, to switch that over. And this is part of an effort that the runtime team is working on for making it so route registrar will no longer be able to register non-TLS routes. So helping to support them there. Again, this hopefully shouldn't affect people with production deployments, because you should be using a highly available blob store there instead of the default WebDAV one. But just a nice improvement there on the route registrar side. All right, so I just rattled off a bunch of stuff. I want to go back to the Buildpacks subteam PR, which is Cloud Foundry Community Pull Requests 558. I don't know how much y'all had seen about this, but basically the Ryan Moran had submitted a PR to request splitting the current Buildpacks working group area into a bunch of different smaller Buildpacks areas. I'm personally fine with that on the working group level, but this would mean that like roughly half of the areas in the runtime interfaces working group would be Buildpacks. So that made me wonder if it made sense to consider like splitting out a separate Buildpacks working group and maybe combining that with Paketo. I'm not sure exactly what governance for Paketo is currently looking like. So I don't have a strong opinion either way, but it did seem like if we're going to be changing up how Buildpacks are organized, this could be an opportunity for thinking about a larger change there.
Wasn't there some talk a while back, and maybe it went nowhere, about the potential for the Linux Foundation to take ownership of Paketo directly? Or maybe that was just idle talk and I'm misremembering.
It was largely idle talk. I mean, Paketo, if Paketo weren't going to be under the CFF, maybe the CNCF would make sense, but there hasn't been any serious conversation about that I know of.
Okay.
I asked correctly.
Sorry, go on.
If I remember correctly, in the very beginning, we ended up with the setup to have a Paketo working group, which runs basically outside. I mean, it's still listed there, but it's basically not part of the CF Foundation because Paketo setup was existing, and the colleagues working in this area wanted explicitly to keep the existing governance. And then the question was, what do we do with the non-native Buildpacks, so the traditional ones? And then they ended up more or less, by accident in this application runtime interfaces working group, hoping that they will sooner or later disappear, which didn't work out. From my content-wise, I mean, it's the same people that are working there. I think it makes a lot of sense to combine Paketo and the traditional Buildpacks. And if it's just for the reason to come up with a migration path and to come up with a strategy about the future of Buildpacks, that would make a lot of sense. On the other hand, we have still this Cloud Foundry Foundation governance framework, and then the CNCF, I think, framework where they are currently in. I don't know how to sort this out and which of the points to give more weight. At the end, the Paketo developers or the Buildpack developers working on both topics, I guess, should say what they think makes most sense.
Yeah, so I think the PR is currently tagged as being a working group concern. I'm certainly fine on the working group level to split it out into a bunch of sub areas. Like, that's not an issue for me. But if we do want to have a larger consideration about or an opportunity to reevaluate how the V2 versus V3 Buildpacks are managed by the CFF, then I think this is an opportunity for reevaluating that organization. So I could potentially open a separate PR to raise that issue, or we could elevate up this PR to not just be a working group level concern and have that discussion there. And I'd cede to y'all on how you want to handle that.
I mean, we could open an issue for the broader discussion about what we might want to do in terms of Buildpack reorganization. I was also thinking, I wonder if it would make sense to wait a little bit to see how the running CNBs in Cloud Foundry on VMs context ends up playing out technologically, because that might inform how we want to reorganize some of the area. once we get a sense of like how that might work and how it might integrate into the rest of the existing components.
Yeah, I think if I have to like temper expectations, there's some like, I think even in a happy world where that integration goes very quickly, we're still talking about a potentially long migration period because we're not expecting it to be a seamless upgrade from the current build packs to the cloud native build packs. Like they don't have the same interface, so it's going to require app level changes in a lot of cases, or significant work to smooth over the interface changes there. So I think the current set of build packs is going to need to have maintainers for the foreseeable future, even if we go down a path of a planned migration there. So I think that's a good idea, Eric, to have a like line of sight on what we're planning to do with the cloud native build packs. But I think de facto we're going to have to keep maintainers for the current ones for a long time.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, that might just give us like a little better idea of what the next step is going to look like and what the organization might make sense around that. Yeah, I don't think anyone is expecting that like, great, we'll be able to get rid of the V2 build packs before 2026 or something.
Yeah, we can split out separate cloud native build pack areas and put them in a different working group just for maximum confusion, so we can spread build packs across three different organizations. All right, cool. So I can open a separate issue to break out that discussion there and then just handle this PR within the working group. Does that work for everyone?
So, yeah, I think that it's minimum change, isn't it?
All right, cool.
If we explore, like if we know about the integration and what it's going to look like, there might be new repositories, right? And that would justify maybe like the creation of a new working group because you have that together with the old build packs. So
yeah, you'd have a lot of repos floating around. All right, and then I guess the next one was just a general query. I've asked about this some on Slack, but I figured while I'm here, I might as well ask y'all face to face. So I know we're in the process of rolling out the branch protection, and I think ARD either recently turned it on or is planning to turn it on. I guess, do you have any more plans about what the rollout for that looks like to other working groups, including RE?
Because RD has not yet rolled it out, but we are, let's say, one day before the rollout. We have now all the prerequisites ready. That means all the bot users are properly configured and in the right teams. And today, Jochen wanted to cut a, let's say, last non-branch protected CF deployment release because there were some issues with the Python build pack release process. It did not make it into CF deployment, and he wanted to fix that first. And now the next thing is to enable the branch protection. And for ARI, I would recommend to wait a little bit for the feedback, let's say 1 or 2 weeks, because yeah, application runtime deployments is a small working group, and if something goes wrong, we have to repair it manually. And if we know it works out and have let's say a week of work on it without any problems, then we could at least give this feedback. And the plan from the TOC, there was no you have to use it, but it was an offering, so you can opt in and you can choose to use it. I mean, RE is a big working group, so it has a big impact. If I look back for the other issues that we have in the, maybe it would be wise to first clean up the still existing private users on the repositories, because only then you know everything is in place, because the branch protection relies on the right team setup. Otherwise, there's a risk that we have important users that suddenly don't have access anymore as they had before. And if we clean up the private usage, then we solve one problem, and after that, we come with the next hammer.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're not in a rush to turn it on. I think it's mostly just trying to understand what the migration path is going to look like there. And so, for now, I definitely understand that it's opt-in and that ARD is trialing it for us, and we definitely appreciate that. But I guess, do we have any vision on will there be a point where it is no longer opt-in, and what the timeline for that looks like, just so we can plan for it?
There was no hard timeline mentioned in the RFC back then. It was formulated in a recommendation with should, etc., not with shall and must.
I don't think we've ever talked about it, have we?
Yeah, no, we haven't talked about it, and I would be hesitating, and honestly, to enforce that to other working groups. I would first see how it works out, and then give that into the hands.
One thing that I'm working on is there's this batch program for proper open source projects, right? And that will start scanning our organization and give us ratings, and that requires branch protection, right? So that would be more we try to drive it through a rating, and eventually we will set a target for that rating, and that will mean that you will have to do it to be able to get that rating, right? It will be I think it will be such a system. So we just enable you to make it easier to get that better rating. So that is up to you to do it. Okay,
cool. So yeah, I think that works for us. I just if there is a policy change there and it is something that starts to become more strongly suggested or required, then definitely reach out and let me know, because I don't want to catch people by surprise when all of a sudden branch protection switches on or whatever. But I'm not worried about that currently. So let me know.
If you're worried, you can also just get ahead of it and just opt in.
Yeah, that you're trying to mind trick me there.
Be done with it. Be done with it. There's no fear. Just.
All right, cool. Well, I'll just be all right, branch protection's on. Contact Ruben if you have any questions.
Dear. Talk about ripping the band-aid off.
How it works out for R&D. If that's then smooth and no issues, then I would at least change my mind and recommend it to other working groups. At the moment, I would be a bit hesitating before I haven't seen it in one of the smaller working groups.
All right, sounds good.
So probably looking at least a couple of months then before we can even start to say yay, nay, that other people should try this. Is that a fair sort of timeline?
It really depends on the output. I mean, if it works smooth for application runtime deployments, then from my point of view, we could go.
Okay. There
is a certain risk, as always. And if you have 50 repos, the risk is different than you have 5 repos.
Yes. Remember to ask you how it's going after a few weeks. All right. Is there anything else you need from us, Greg?
No, I don't think so. I think those were the main topics I wanted to cover. I guess one last thing I forgot to write on my list was we're speaking of perennial topics. We're thinking of taking another look at how Cloud Controller handles roles, and thinking about what implementation of more customized roles would look like there. Again, we've so far not succeeded at implementing that, so no promises there, but we have some people who are excited about that problem again, so there's a chance we may come out of that with another proposal for more easily customizable roles there. But other than that, nothing else on my list.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your time, Greg. We'll move on to PRs then.
I have a question.
Sorry, Beyhan.
Yeah.
We have some PRs open on the Java client from SAP side because we want to move to the V3 APIs, CF V3. We were wondering how can we get those merged. It looks like the two approvals in the Java client projects are not really active. So until we have approvals, we'll take time. We want to look into that direction, but at the moment the PS seems to be blocked.
Yeah, so I will follow up on those PRs. Looking at the two maintainers on Java Tools currently, I think one of them is definitely still active and the other is active at least for other repositories. They may just not be tracking the Java Tools stuff as closely as some of the Java Buildpack stuff. So I can definitely remind both of them that they're also responsible for Java Tools. I think there's also a potential up and coming third contributor / approver in that area. So hopefully that should add some additional bandwidth there. But I can definitely follow up on that and get back to you.
Yeah, this will be great. Yeah, thank you. And I'm waiting for the native buildpack approach concept. I'm really interested to look into that.
Same.
Yeah, I'm very much hoping to get that RFC over soon. I'm going to be on vacation next week, but after that, if I don't get it before then, I'll hopefully have it after.
That's good. Yeah. Any more? Nope. Alrighty. PRs then. 551 to begin with.
Thanks, Greg.
Turns out I don't need to do 551. It's already been merged. 540 then. Stephan,
40 is the branch protection. Yeah, I will ask Jochen to merge it, and then we hope it works.
Yeah. I'll
if
tick it off
CF deployment release is done.
Right.
I will take care of it.
Are there any other PRs people want to talk about? No. All right. Chris, you want to talk about Docker Hub?
I do. First, though, slightly more exciting bit of news than Docker Hub policy changes. We've got a date and a venue set for Cloud Foundry Day this year. It's going to be in Heidelberg, Germany on June 21st. We just got the contract signed late last week. We'll probably be publicly announcing it later this week, waiting on a website and a couple of other things to come through. But that is confirmed. June 21st in Heidelberg. So that should be pretty exciting. First time Cloud Foundry has had a European event since 2019. It should be somewhat similar to the CF Day we had in Detroit at KubeCon last year. But so looking forward to digging into that a bit more. And we should announce that publicly, like I said, either end of this week or leading in next week. And then we'll have to set up a program committee and open the CFP and all that fun stuff. So yeah, save the 21st and feel free to. You can share that publicly now, but we'll announce it formally in a couple of days. Now on to less exciting news. Docker Hub sent out an email last week causing some dismay across the wider open source communities of the world out there that they were going to be deprecating all of their free team plans, which certainly their right to do. But they're going to be doing that as soon as, I think, April 14th. So this does not impact the Cloud Foundry Docker Hub org. It does not impact the Paketo Buildpacks Docker Hub org, which are the two major ones that we're using. But there may be some legacy Docker Hub organizations that are on those plans. I don't know if they're still in use. Like when I search for old Cloud Foundry teams, I see various orgs. I don't know how in use they are, and I'm not an admin on those, with the exception of Bosch CPI, which I am an admin on. And that one, I would recommend that we move whatever active repositories are there over to the Cloud Foundry org. That's where we're at on that. I don't know exactly what the best process would be for. I guess we could just reach out to the individual working groups and make sure if they are using something that they know if they need to move that over to Cloud Foundry. And I can, people can ping me directly to get access to the Cloud Foundry or Paketo Buildpacks Docker Hub orgs.
I think Marcella has some in the services, on the services side. She has some.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll reach out to her. Also currently.
Oh,
sorry,
Chris. Just to finish up on this. I noticed, maybe it was yesterday, this follow-up blog post from Docker that I posted in chat about how they did a terrible job of messaging what was going on with this. Yeah. They did mention like some other open source support. Is that what's covering the Cloud Foundry and Paketo orgs? Like,
it's Paketo Buildpacks is currently has a nice badge and everything, a sponsored open source or OSS sponsored organization under the Cloud Foundry Foundation. In the past, when they first rolled out their open source program, like it was only like 2-something years ago, Cloud Foundry was approved, as was various other Docker Hub organizations, but that has expired. They haven't done a great job of messaging on some of these things, right? So they've revamped their open source program, and they have these nice badges now. It does take some time to apply for them to get back. And I'd imagine since last week that they're getting kind of crushed with new requests. So Paketo Buildpacks has been approved for that. Cloud Foundry has previously been approved, but I've been told that it has expired. So I currently have a reapplication pending with Docker Hub. And so hopefully we'll get that nice badge there soon too. And I'm not planning on applying for any other orgs because I just think we should roll them into those two main orgs. And that's nice because there'll be like a one-to-one with our GitHub orgs too. So I will, Eric, maybe you or Brianne or someone would be good with VMware to run through. I do think that we could purge some of the users in the Cloud Foundry org. There's a lot of pivotal.io email addresses and whatnot. So maybe, yeah, I think I'll put 30 minutes on your calendar at some point and you can run through that with me. That didn't take long. It's just we're probably wasting a couple $100 a month. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, have them reach out to me on that and I can get people set up with the Cloud Foundry Docker Hub org. And I'll reach out to Marcella with our services.
Yeah, I saw something on that apology blog post about like they won't be deleting public images unless maintainers want to. So maybe that insulates us from like some old images that people might still be pulling into things, just kind of breaking suddenly. But yeah, definitely we should, if there's anything active, we should consolidate that under the CF organization.
Yeah. Should I just reach out to each working group lead and ask them about this? I'll do that. Yeah, I'll send a Slack message to all the working group leads and just, if you do know of anything, you need to move it over, let me know and I'll take care of that. Cool. That's all I've got for Docker Hub and Cloud Foundry Day.
All right. Any other business? No? All right. Well, let us wrap up here then. And we'll see you all again. Same time, same place next week. Well, no, hang on. Actually,
Not
is it the same time?
Same time for me.
It is back to 3 p.m. Is it GMT? I can't remember what time I'm on. I'm guessing it's either 2 or 3 p.m. UTC. I can't remember which. That's not very helpful. It's back to the usual time, basically. Trust me, the one time I say that, it's actually wrong. God damn it. Right, yes. Same place on the same day. Let's say that. Right. Have a good day, folks. Catch you in a bit.
See you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye, folks.